Response video to Piero again. So he's talking more of this stuff on consciousness, and he's not, you know. I talked to him last night in Stickam. He posts this video, and apparently he's going to say more of the same crap. That consciousness is information or some other nonsense, based on the comments anyway. So anyway, I played the first 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Hasn't really said anything yet, but I'll say something as a context here. There's biological truth behind all of this stuff, and you have to sort of give explanations that are consistent with evolutionary theory of how and why we got consciousness, how it developed. You have to have some sort of theory based in here. Plants can't do anything with feelings, okay? Any kind of pain or anything. They can't move in any real way. Alright, moving over a 2-hour period isn't going to do them any frickin' good in 99% of cases. So it's just, it would be nonsense. It wouldn't have any evolutionary use, and it certainly doesn't have any use as a, you have to have some sort of central processor to be able to do processing, real processing. So I would make an analogy. There's tons of chemistry that's really complex. You mix two chemicals together, and every 2 hours it goes through a whole stage of chemistry, and you can end up with an epoxy solid after 6 hours, and you start with two liquids. Nylon, I remember as a kid, you know, my father was a chemist, and I remember going to Allied Chemical, and they put on a demonstration. And I remember nylon. It was really fascinating. You know, they just mixed a couple of chemicals, they turned colors, this, that, another thing happened. You pour in one more chemical, you wait 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they pulled out a string of nylon out of this muck. Yeah, it's just chemistry. It's not conscious. It's not trying to make anything. To take some dirty, scummy water in your kitchen sink and drop some dish soap in it and watch what happens. Watch it happen. Okay, it looks like it's alive. It looks like something's happening. I mean, all the suds is moving. Everything's changing. Everything happens. And it's just chemistry. There's no frickin' goddamn consciousness there. It's reactive chemistry. And that's all a plant has is reactive chemistry. It's not conscious. There's just no point in having the word conscious if you're going to expand it and move it in those directions. And there's no evolution. There's no biology. There's just nothing. You can't sit there and pretend that consciousness is a state that takes place in anything else but central nervous systems. That's the only place we have any evidence of it existing in, and we certainly have profound evidence that it doesn't exist in that thing unless it's perfectly functioning. If you break just a little piece of my brain, I am no longer conscious, even though every cell is still alive, the electricity is still flying, but no, there's no consciousness there anymore. You just can't keep playing this game with consciousness. It's a word that has a definition, and you're completely fucking the definition, and it's irresponsible. Alright, well, I'll play a couple more minutes and be back. Alright, a little further along, not much though. Look, he's basically arguing that amoebas are somehow smelling their environment because, you know, a piece of chemistry will hit their surface, there'll be a physical reaction to it. I mean, this is just nonsense. It's like that's like arguing that the flagellum in my throat, they're somehow conscious. They're little conscious organisms living inside of me, you know, filtering, you know, the mucus in my throat. It is just idiotic. They're just mechanical parts. There's a whole big pile. The evolution of life doesn't really, the game of life doesn't start until 600 million years ago, really. Okay, before then, before you had a spinal cord and nerves, you didn't have goddamn feeling life. You had reproducing biological machines, and that's all they were. If we saw life in that state on another planet, alright, we wouldn't be all like hysterical about their welfare or any of this other kind of crap. We'd see them for what they are, machines. You know, if we made them out of metal, then maybe you could visualize it better, but it's the same thing. They're machines. They're chemical machines. They're not conscious beings. They're robots. They're biological robots, and it's controlled by a DNA molecule. So I want to get to this, you know, because he was talking about smell. Look, let's talk about what sense is likely to be the cause of sensation. And I would argue that the sense that has the most likelihood that creates this phenomenon of feeling and thinking is vision. Because vision is the most even when he mentions smell, I mean, we don't smell the molecules. The molecules trigger nerve endings, which in turn are interpreted in our brain as a smell because of a combination of sensations. They hit more than one thing, and they create more than one effect. And our brain figures out identifies that that's the combination, that's the key. It's a key fitting into a keyhole. So it's not just a simple matter of a knee jerk anymore. And vision is the perfect example of that, because vision is, yes, there's light and dark. So the first organisms might be just reacting light, dark, light, dark. But there would be a point in doing that. There would be a point in having a mechanism inside that would say, you know, go towards the light or away from the dark. And there would especially be, you can see, incredible advantage if an organism could all of a sudden start detecting the movement of a predator or movement in their environment that wasn't the same kind of movement that they were used to. You know, if it was an inconsistent movement, then they could freeze and, you know, play dead and not move, so they wouldn't be food. And there would be a huge evolutionary advantage in creating an organism that would have those kind of reactions. And those reactions can only take place because, you know, with vision, if there's a witness. This vision, again, is another disconnected sense. The photons hit our retina, and our brain makes the image. Okay, and there has to be something witnessing the image, in a sense, that's reading the image, that's being viewed and reacting to it. And so that might be the place where the original sensation found real life, because then you have something reading it. And once you have something reading it, you have neurology. You have to have a brain to do that. Reading requires you to have a brain. I didn't get very far. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's just so irresponsible in this conversation. He's basically telling people what fucking plants are doing, and yet he's arguing that we can't be fairly confident about what's happening in other humans. Like if I say I basically understand that I have consciousness, they have consciousness, it's probably pretty similar. You know, when they're grieving over their dead mother, it's probably the same kind of little things flying through their head or some kind of crap. You know, it's not all that dissimilar. He's saying we basically can't assume that, but he can make all these fucking goddamn declarations about what fucking amoeba are feeling, what plants are doing, and what all these other fucking goddamn machines that don't even have fucking brains are doing. I mean, this is just so outrageous. He can speculate about that. He's basically saying, but none of us can be even the least bit confident that humans are generally human, and that cows are generally cows, and that wolves are generally wolves, and that we can extrapolate from mammal to mammal. He's extrapolating from human to goddamn plant, and he's telling people they really don't have a right to even extrapolate from mammal to mammal. I mean, fuck you. This is just bullshit, Pyro. Oh, yeah, I didn't get very far again. So now he's saying he even brought up the example of the comatose person. And now his argument is okay, yes, their brain is no longer conscious, but their metabolism is still wanting to process sugar and still wanting to do that and wanting, as if that somehow he hasn't now just changed the subject. That's completely a category error. Once you've said that you acknowledge that consciousness is in the brain, a brain has consciousness, you're not saying that the individual cells of the brain are all individually conscious. And if you are, what you basically are doing, you're saying the individual cells have their own consciousness. Well, we're not talking about the individual cells. We're not talking about the metabolism. We're talking about the phenomena of consciousness. And clearly, it's very easy to turn off this consciousness thing when it's in a brain. So how come it's easier to turn off a brain's consciousness, this very complex, billions of cells? That consciousness is fickle and hard to sustain, and yet the consciousness of these little microorganisms and plants and single cells, their consciousness is somehow so much more durable. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And how can it be anywhere equatable to the same thing? Billions and billions and billions of cells create a phenomenon that is just as routine as what's happening inside of an amoeba. I mean, why does our brain, why does it waste all of this energy? Why does it process all of that sugar to feed this stupid brain if this brain isn't doing anything? If everything our brain is doing, a fucking amoeba can do. except for algebra. It can do all the feeling thing. It can do all the wanting thing. It can do all the desiring thing. It can have ambitions. It can do all of that shit without a goddamn brain. And somehow our brain can't do it if I just turn a little switch inside of it. All of a sudden the whole thing shuts down. I mean, what a pile of goddamn shit. Okay, this part he starts talking about this unwillingness to acknowledge that living things are just automatons or something like that, and that somehow it's so hard to write artificial intelligence to duplicate. No, you can duplicate you know what? Science can make something that'll behave just like a microbe. They can make one that's really big. They can make one the size of you, and it can behave just like a stupid microbe. All right, no problem. I can make something that'll behave just like a plant. It'll look just like a plant. It'll bend towards the light like a plant. It'll shrivel and die. Like, I can make one that looks to mimic a plant. No fucking problem. I'm going to be able to pass that Turing test, Pyro. Like I said, I can make fucking goddamn nylon in a beaker. That's right. I can make a rope come right out of a beaker. Ooh. Jesus, is so stupid. Alright, you know, look, there's really no point in doing this in a way, but I'll finish the video just as I started. It's just 15 minutes of talk out of your ass, complete crap. Alright, he hasn't really thought this through. There's probably a ton of examples to defeat every one of his idiotic points. These weird, bizarre standards he's coming up with now to define what the fuck we're doing. And now it's information processing, and that's the game. And now he's arguing that nothing does that independently, and the cell phone needs just to interact with it. Well, we've sent probes to other fucking planets, okay, that behaved entirely on their own. Independent. They didn't need instruction. I mean, that they were built so that even if everything failed, they would have a pre-program that would allow them to do what they were supposed to do, or accomplish a task. Alright, they were task-oriented, they were information processors, they weren't fucking conscious, Pyro. They weren't on another planet saying, I'm on another planet, and I'm conscious, and I'm processing information. And this is just such a pile of crap. Consciousness is not about processing information. Alright, it's about organs inside of a brain that create an illusion. Consciousness is not a thing, it is an illusion created inside of a brain. It takes a lot of fucking hardware, specific hardware, to create the illusion of consciousness. It's like a dream. You can't just make it. Are you going to argue that amoebas are having dreams? Come on, this is just such a pile of shit. So now he's saying a plant thinks about water and the sunlight and then it's willing. I mean, he's just, like I said, there's no point in having vocabulary. There's no point in talking to people who even speak fucking English. I might as well just speak to some Chinese guy who doesn't know a word of English, and I don't know a word of Chinese, and we might as well have a conversation because this is just as fucking useless. Fuck you. I mean, fuck you for destroying the dictionary. Fuck you for that. Fuck you.
Out of mind only because.
Oh, this is just so insufferable. I'm telling you, yeah, it's again, I can't get more than 30 seconds into this shit, and he says something else stupider than before. And so now he's just saying it's like any kind of information processing. So anytime a piece of chemistry goes from one piece of my body to another piece of my body, they're having an independent conscious experience. I mean, it is true, Pyro, by your theory, there are literally millions, hundreds of millions, if not billion, cells in my arm. If I cut my arm off and I throw it over there, you're going to tell me it's a fucking sentient living being. You know, maybe we should give it a couch to lie in and, you know, cool it with some, you know, water and pet it and take care of it because it's having a will experience and it's all hysterical now because the cells are starting to die and things are happening and it doesn't like it and it's having a bad time. I mean, this is just such a crock of shit. The word consciousness has a meaning, and it doesn't mean any time a piece of goddamn dish soap hits some water, there's a conscious experience. I mean, there's just no point in having the word conscious if you're going to sit there and blow it up, just destroy it, annihilate it, turn it into complete rubbish and crap. Now he's making this preposterous accusation that somebody is somehow implying that dogs don't feel. That's the argument people are making. That's where they're drawing this line of consciousness. Now, there are some people who don't think animals deserve to be treated fairly, and they eat them, okay? And you're one of those people. And now you're taking the opposite tact and trying to defend the idea that consciousness, well, a dog loves its puppies. Well, I'm sure a cow loves not having an anal probe. Fuck you. This is just such crap. The argument is there sentience, okay, in organisms that have no nervous system and no central nervous system? That's the argument, Pyro. Don't change the fucking subject. God damn, I mean, this is just so, these are the worst videos you have ever made. This is just such crap. Alright, now he's saying plants get thirsty. Yeah, they get thirsty. I mean, even human beings can't do that when they're in a persistent vegetative state. Nope, can't even get thirsty. Even though their body is starving, they're dehydrated, they can't get thirsty anymore. But a plant can do it. No problem. I mean, this, you know, this is like this is just, I shouldn't, there's nothing to say. There's just no point. Human beings are just too stupid and useless for words. It's disgusting. This is disgusting. I mean, you know, we got all this ignorance in the world you got to fight with. And then people who actually went to school, went to college, took physics classes, and they talk this kind of rubbish. Absolute crap. Thirsty plants. Alright, well anyway, I'm just gonna put this guy on the enemies list. This is just such crap. I mean, I waste my time. This is just such a waste of time. Having to argue with this is even a bigger waste of time than arguing with the religious nuts. This is like arguing with 5-year-old fucking, I love my teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear. I mean, I'm just not going to waste my time trying to explain to people why a teddy bear doesn't feel. I mean, this is just so fucking, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That's all I can say. I don't know what else to say, Pyro. Fuck you. So let me find the block button. I'm done with you, you asshole. If you make some outrageous video that I actually end up seeing, then I'll fucking maybe comment on it once in a while. But otherwise, yeah, just fuck you. Fuck your autoplay. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're just such a waste of my goddamn time. You're just, I'll put you in my little enemies list right next to To Be Serious is rubbish. You know, I'll stop by now and then to see what kind of fucking idiotic, inane crap you're spouting on the internet, and that's all you're going to be goddamn good for. Is what is that fucking retard saying now? There, I'll put you next to all the fucking little shitheads in the little shithead category. Shithead. See, it's titled Shithead. So now you're now an official shithead. You stupid motherfucking dumb cunt. Goodbye.